Hey everybody, it's your girl Coach Christal and welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays. If you're just joining us, welcome to our community. If you're new to the platform, I just want to welcome you by saying our mantra that we start every last one of our interactions with, whether it be a live, a workshop, anything. It just goes like this. A lot of things happen before this, and I guarantee a lot of things are going to happen after this, but I promise to be here with you now. Please be here with me now. It's an invitation not just to be here with us now, but to be present, to give yourself permission to learn something, to position yourself for transformation, and just to deepen your awareness of what we call wisdom, which is really the ability to use your intuition and calculate your past for a better future and a better present moment. So tonight we have a very special guest, and we were joking behind the scenes that tonight is going to be a powerful scenario because we've been having some technical difficulties, and whenever there's going to be technical difficulties, it means that somebody need to hear this. Okay, so tonight I want you to help me welcome an amazingly talented writer, mother, entrepreneur, coming all the way from the D. Please welcome Cierra Seay.
I made it. I made it finally. And the camera I wanted to use still not working, but whatever. I'm here.
Okay, we see you. We see you. Look, as we get started, right? Let's just give people your introduction of you.
Oh man. Now Christal, I'm not good at this. All right. The introduction to me. So these days I would introduce myself as mother, sister, friend, CEO, and marketing wizard, specifically email marketing and marketing messaging. I'm really, really walking in that these days. But that's how all around just fun, awesome person.
Yeah, I'll attest to that.
Yeah.
So you say walking into that. This is interesting, right? Because we're coming up on Vision Camp Virtual this weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Camp Live. So when you talk about walking into something, what does that really mean for you, Cierra, as like taking you say what I mean. I feel like I got an inclination, but you tell us what you mean.
So for me, that means like it really means accepting like my greatness in all that it entails. Yeah. I've been blessed to be around people who have for the last few years have seen something in me that I knew was there, but they like literally have been pulling it out piece by piece every single year, every quarter, every day, every week, every month. And I feel like this year is like, okay, there's no more of the no, that's not me, or I'm just this, or it's like, no, this is what it is. I am the best at what I do. I am great at what I do, despite whatever mistakes and all that good stuff. I'm still like the I don't want to curse, but I'm still I'm still that still the GOAT, the guru,
okay,
if you will.
I love it. Okay, so for people who are new to you, some people who are new to our platform, some people just tuning in. What would you say? You defined who you are. Like, how would you tell people what it is you actually do?
So anytime someone asks me what I do, and I know they're not necessarily like well versed in marketing, I just say I help people create messaging or marketing materials that literally attracts people that want to buy whatever they have. That's the easiest way for me to explain it.
Yeah. And so what is the science behind that?
Yeah, so the science behind it is psychology. Most people don't understand that marketing at its foundation is simply psychology. It's number one, understanding who it is that you're targeting, right? So what do you have that someone wants to buy? And then how do you get inside of their mind and make them take action without them telling you necessarily why they want what you have?
Right.
So that's the psychology part of it. Like being able to say something to someone that they're thinking that they didn't necessarily say to you, but they're like, okay, this person understands my problem. And one of the, I don't want to call it a trick, but one of the advantages to being a great marketer is being able to tell people what their problem is, and that it help them understand that you're qualified to solve it before they say a word to you.
Yeah. So so we could I know you don't use your skills for evil, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, it it can be very, very manipulative, if you will.
Yeah.
It's so funny when I first started doing this, and this is before I like really healed, if you will, and I started dating. I'm like, it's kind of manipulative to date a marketer.
Yeah.
Like it can be very, very manipulative. The first book I ever read on it was by Robert Cialdini, Influence. This is
Mhm.
when I was in college, and I'm like, this stuff is kind of creepy, but everything is intentional. Like people think, it's always funny when people make posts about Target. Everything in Target is intentional, from the music to what's right there at the front door to
I'm
the
sorry.
Starbucks. Like, so that whole little triangle is intentional.
Mhm.
And people are like, oh, you just stroll. Yeah, that was all marketing psychology.
Yeah. Yeah, but it brings it to light, right? That when we think that things are by happenstance, we don't pay attention to the logic and the science behind them, which
Mm-hmm.
is also the way that we sometimes fall into default with our lives.
Woo. Yep.
So when you think about how you're guiding people, because
Mhm.
manipulation is a violent form of guidance, right?
Yes.
We know you're not using your powers for evil, but when you feel like you're guiding people, what do you feel like? I mean, how does it resonate with who you've known yourself to be? Because you just said, before you healed, this could have been really, this could have been something else.
Okay, say that question one more time, because you'd be dropping them. One more time. One more time.
I just wonder, as you're guiding people through this process, whether it's for your clientele or for other people,
Okay.
what's your kind of I don't want to say stance on it, but like where do you position yourself?
As where do I position myself in terms of giving them instruction on how to attract their ideal client?
Yeah, or how you're right, or how the words are guiding people to something new.
Got you. So one of my main questions is always like, why? I like to know why someone is doing what they're doing
Mhm.
before I kind of help them attract a whole lot of people to buy whatever they're selling.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's one of so if I understand the why, I kind of get your story. That helps me to understand it and to make sure that I'm not doing nothing out of integrity to like guide you in the right direction, and also to for you to be able to kind of integrate your. That's why I'm so big on like integrating your story within your messaging,
Uh
because
huh.
people want to know why, especially these days. Like, why do you care about this so much? So I think that's probably the biggest tactic, if you will. Is helping people go back to the why. Like, okay, why are you doing this again? Why do you want this coaching program? Why are you selling this course? Especially if it's something that could change someone's life, and it isn't like something that's trendy, if you will.
Yeah. Hmm. So my next question is, see, what's your why?
What's my why? So it's so funny because every time people kind of ask me about my journey, I always tell them like I didn't wake up one day and be like, oh, I want to be a marketer or a copywriter.
Yeah.
I took a literal gift, which is writing, and kind of had to bob and weave my way through different writing experiences to land where I am now. So
Okay.
for some, just to give people a quick backstory, the first thing I ever wrote, and when I realized I was good, second grade won a writing contest. And my mom was like, okay, there's something there. So from there, I'll fast forward to high school. I ended up starting the sports section in our paper because we didn't have one. And I'm like, why don't we have a sports section? I'm a sports fanatic. From there, started writing for a high school sports newspaper. Then I started writing in college for the newspaper. Then I started doing hip hop journalism, Double XL, like all the big publications back in the day. And then I got pregnant. And then when I got pregnant, I'm like, okay, journalism doesn't make a lot of money. I always love marketing and advertising. That was my minor. I'm like, how can I still do what I love and use my gift? Because I've
Mhm.
never been opposed to like working for other people. I just always refuse to do something I don't love.
Ah,
So
yeah.
I fell into I had a digital marketing class, and I had a copywriting class with my advertising minor. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh, like there's something here. So
Mhm.
started studying, started doing a lot of pro bono work. Fast forward to 2015, I got an opportunity and it worked, and then everything. That's how I got to like this space.
Yeah.
So now my why is I wholeheartedly believe coaches, consultants, people who are experts are the real superheroes of the world. Like we change our clients' lives, they change their families' lives. and they could change the whole trajectory of their lineage based off of what they learn from us. So that's my why now. Like anytime people are like, why would you pay somebody? Because having a coach can literally change a generation, 2 or 3, just from you like learning something or implementing something that you would have never known about prior to hiring someone. So that's my why now. Coaches and consultants are who I primarily work with because y'all are the real superheroes of the world. Like it's just
thank you, C. Thank
true.
You. Yeah. I think people are wondering, like, and I think you and I have had this conversation, and you've been to live events, like me and what we do, right? Mm-hmm. But I think many people would be like, how or why would I hire someone to sound like me?
Yeah.
And I think in that conundrum, when they ask that question, for them it becomes an authenticity question rather than a integration question.
Right. Because here's the thing. Why would I hire somebody to sound like me? Because at the end of the day, most people don't know how to articulate what they actually bring to the marketplace. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like that's what it is. So if you're watching this and you're a coach or you're a consultant, trainer, whatever you want to call yourself, a speaker, 9 times out of 10, the way you articulate what you do isn't the way that your ideal client understands it. So when people looking at you crazy, or you keep throwing up these websites and you wondering, why isn't anybody doing anything? It's because you're not articulating their problem to them the way that they see it. There is just certain language you have to use, and that goes back to the psychology. So you know what you do, but your ideal client isn't tossing and turning at night saying, I need a mindset coach. Right. They're just not saying that.
Right.
Most of them don't even know that exists.
Right. Yes. Right. And so it's interesting because, you and I, so we were just, you just said this, like, because you be throwing them out. Okay. Like the way that I talk, right, is very different than the way a lot of people talk. Mm-hmm. Right. Because, it's like a conglomeration of all the things that I love. It's academic, it's art, it's spirituality. And people are like, but what does that mean? Right. And sometimes, right. Sometimes people are like, what does that mean? People are like, oh, wait a minute. I need a minute. Right. So it's all that synthesis that when we talk about personal development and transformation, we can only see ourselves from one lens. Mm-hmm. So we need people from the other side. When you take on new clients, see, what's your method of getting the 360-degree picture of who they are and what they do?
That's a great question. So the first thing is, like, especially if they schedule a call the right way, right? The first thing is I go to their social media and I'm like, okay, let me see how they're already articulating themselves in the marketplace. Because like that's a requirement. You have to, well, if you're not in the marketplace, you got to have something I can see, whether it's YouTube, something. So the first thing I do is I go see how are they already positioning themselves in the marketplace. That helps me to determine, number one, if they're serious, number two, how consistent they've been, and getting an idea of what could be some of the gaps that's causing them not to have as much traction as they want to have. Mm-hmm. The second thing is like just the conversation with them over the phone. I always start with, okay, why are you doing this? I don't want to know how much money you've been making or none of that. How long have you been doing it and why have you been doing it? Yeah. That's the second thing. And then the third thing is like, what's the vision? Like what is the grand scheme? Like, is this just a money play, or are you looking to build something that's going to outlast you? So that's how I get a grand over a 30,000 foot overview of whether or not this is someone who's like truly interested in creating something that's going to be, worth having.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, you were on this trajectory. Mm-hmm. And then you just kind of dropped in there. Yeah, then I got pregnant, and then like, so there's this thing, I know it, we're both parents who are single, we're both kind of mothers who are entrepreneurs. When you first became pregnant and you were kind of
fell off the toilet. literally.
Okay. When you got us falling off the toilet, what did you think?
I was terrified of the first thing that after, like, I was like, okay, this is what's happened. Uh-huh. I was terrified to tell my parents, like, terrified. I
Mm-hmm.
think it took me like 3 days to finally to finally tell him. I was terrified though. Um yeah, I was terrified. And then after that, I don't really remember what I was thinking after that.
Uh-huh.
Um
Well,
I
fear can.
honestly don't. And it's so crazy because he's only 13. It don't seem that long ago.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what I was thinking after that.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But the fear was there.
Yeah, it was because I think it was more so like I was so close to graduating at that point.
Uh-huh.
I was like, shoot. And I didn't at that time, I wasn't a real processor. I was just like, okay, like I didn't really explore my options, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
just thought, oh, I gotta go home, gotta do this. And then I knew how disappointed my parents were gonna be.
Uh-huh.
Even though their whole thing was like make it out of high school, but
Yeah.
I knew how disappointed they were gonna be. So yeah.
Yeah. So okay, he's 13 now. We both have sons who are the same age, right?
Yeah.
In the last 13 years, how has your story changed from what you thought it was going to be?
Ooh, it's changed a lot because I had another one, which I didn't think I was which I didn't think I was gonna do. So my 20s were very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's so crazy when I think about it. Like I had to write down the timeline. It's funny because my youngest son found it and he's like, "You've been through all this in your life already?" And I'm like, "Yeah, my 20s were interesting." So Christian was born 21, 22. My mother passed when I was 24. Caleb was born when I was 25. I also got married when I was 25. Then I got divorced for my 30th birthday. So those 10 years was like a lifetime.
Yeah.
I changed a lot. Like I can't even fathom being who I was back then. I was not a person who advocated for myself. I don't even think I was people pleaser. Probably was my middle name.
Mm.
Um, there were a lot of what's the word I want to use? There were a lot of things that I kind of like buried that I uncovered in my 30s that have made me like who I am today, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a lot. But
Yeah.
there were also a lot of great things that I like. One of the things that I always tell people, I will never be the old woman on the porch wondering what if. To this day, everything that I've tried, that I've wanted to do so far, I've tried. I wanted to get my real estate license. I was a realtor for like a year and a half. I was pretty good at it,
Uh-huh.
but let it go. I had a very successful podcast before podcast was the thing.
Yeah.
I was interviewing college dropouts who were now successful. Like a lot of the influencers I had on my show before they became who they were. Tried that. I wish I wouldn't have stopped that, but that's another long story. Um, yeah, like I've lived a life and I still got a whole lot more to live.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, right? Because one of the reasons I created this podcast is because there are amazing people who do amazing things in the world. And
Mhm.
because they do amazing things, people forget that they're human beings.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, like, to hear your backstory just makes it even more palpable that you're not somebody just in the background finding the right word. You're looking at a
Mhm.
lifetime of like experience and success and feedback. And you're like, oh no, I think I know what you need here, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's replacement. If you hadn't had that experience, do you think you would be as successful as you are in your field?
No, I don't. And I'm gonna be very like I often wonder what life would have looked like if I didn't get pregnant, if I would have finished school, and I think I would be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I think I would be I probably would be one of my clients, right? Who I've done everything by the book and now I'm just lost and don't know what to do. Well, not all of my clients are like that, but like those people who go
Yeah.
to hire, hire life coaches who literally on paper everything is, but there's also a lot that's missing. There's no real experiences. Now there are some advantages to doing things by the book, but I don't think I would be doing what I'm doing now or like in this seat because I wouldn't have explored. Like the opportunity that I got when I started in marketing messaging was
Mhm.
because I was at a place where it's like, okay, I'm not growing the way I need to grow. So
Yeah.
I joined a community. And it was the community where it's so crazy. He was my advisor when I was in college, and then he ventured off and became what they call the number one speaker in the world now.
Uh-huh.
So I joined that community to try to figure out, like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing in my life now? Like, I had this kid, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And now I wouldn't have never done that if I would have, graduated and, did all the typical stuff. I would have
Yeah.
never joined a community like that.
I mean, I think that's really true. I mean, and it's not just true for you; it's true for so many people. They just came out with this recent study where they were studying people who were on their way to dying, right? And one of the number one thing that they said they regretted was not living life to the fullest and worrying too much about being successful.
Yeah.
Right? Because the success that we're looking for is prescribed, and prescriptions don't give you purpose.
Ooh. See what I'm talking about? Y'all see what she just said? Prescriptions don't give you purpose.
No.
That was good.
Most of the time, like, let's think about it from a medical perspective, right? Like, most of the time we take a prescription drug, it's there to either eliminate something, keep something from getting worse, or numb the pain, right? So we look at this success thing that you're talking about and really just blowing out of the water, like college to right? That linear pathway is not for everybody, and most people get to the end of it and like, now what?
Right. No, literally. Yeah. It saddens me sometimes to see even people my age like, oh, I gotta go back to school and I gotta finish. Yeah. And I'm great, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, and then what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Instead of having a holistic view, a vision, if you will, a vision of what you want your life to look like, and then decide, do I need to do this in order to fulfill the vision? Like, if someone would have explained life to me like that at like even at 30, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Everything would be different. Yeah. Everything would be different.
And it's interesting. So today, this is y'all. We're taking a detour, but I got to tell y'all this story. Today, I've kind of said out loud in many venues that I do not take clients under 30, right? And so sometimes I make exceptions. So I have a client right now. I believe she's 24, 25. She is the GOAT of clients right now.
Okay? Wow.
And I told her this personally today. I said, you are not only digesting and working on this material, but you're implementing in a way that every time I talk to you, there's another level, right, of growth and transformation. And maybe it's because she doesn't have enough life experience yet, right, to be pulled back into the fear, but she's pushing forward in a way that a lot of us who are 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s feel afraid to do.
Yeah. And that makes a little bit of sense too. Because it's like when you're 30 plus, especially if you're established 30 plus, you're subconsciously thinking about what you could possibly lose. And it may not always be tangible. Right. It could be those friends. It could be that relationship. You 24, 25, you ain't got no kids. You like it is what it is.
Right. But I'm just saying that in response to, like, you said, if someone had told you when you were 30, if someone had given you the game at 24,
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel bad for everybody else in her life right now. Like, I mean, I feel like I've given her, like, she like, and why are you here?
Right.
You know? Literally, right? So in this kind of backstory, right, I think a lot about, okay, where are the times that we could have rewritten the story, right? Where are the times that our why shifted? And then as you're looking at the shifts and changes, let's say you're working with a client and their why changes. How do you help them kind of close the gap between their transformation as they're growing as a coach or consultant or something like that?
So, and you let me know what you think about this as well. I think the why can change and the vision stay the same.
Okay.
It's almost like, and this is an epiphany the biggest epiphany I've had this year. It's like your destination can remain the same, but the vehicle can change.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so right now, everything is generational wealth, right? Leave a legacy. Okay, that's the destination, which never has to change. But I think what's happening is some people believe you have to be a full-time entrepreneur in order to make that happen, and you don't.
Mhm. Right.
So it's like, while you may have several vehicles, but that one vehicle doesn't have to. So I think the same thing is like, I think your why can shift and can adjust. Because I mean, to be honest, I became a full-time entrepreneur out of necessity.
Yeah.
It was a goal. I had a plan, but I had to jump out here faster than I thought I did, because I had to make a decision between allowing someone else to raise my kids due to my work schedule, or betting on myself. So that my why at that time was like, well, I gotta become full time because I gotta take care of them, and I didn't want my dad to like be raising them. So that was my why then. But over the years, like, the why has changed and it got deeper. I think it probably took me like 3.5 years to where I started looking at what I do as a real like gift. Because for a while I thought everybody could write. And then I'm like, oh no, everybody can't write. And then when I started coaching, it's so funny. Me and Mark Quill laugh about it all the time. When I started coaching, it took me a while to get comfortable answering questions that weren't strictly about messaging. And then as I'm coaching people, I'm like, oh, you know what you're talking about. It's like, you know what you're talking about, but you had those moments where you like, that was good.
Yeah.
Okay, you did that one. You answered that question. So yeah, over the years, my why has definitely developed. So I don't expect, I mean, yeah, developed. So I don't expect that not to happen with clients.
Yeah.
Normally it gets stronger. It should.
I think you're right. I think the why is the initial drive. I think some people's why sometimes is discomfort. And when they get over the first layer of discomfort, then they're like, now what? Again, right? But I also think there's a way that we put a method to the magic that keeps you kind of growing over time as well. The other thing that you said is interesting, right? In terms of, we might set a course for generational wealth, right? And so, for the biblical scholars out there, right? Like, David didn't get to build the sanctuary for the Lord. His son had to do it. Now, he amassed the wealth.
Yep.
And then Solomon could do it. And Solomon was known for his wisdom. David was known for his heart. But what does the generational wealth and legacy look like beyond the acquisition?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what you're saying about, like, people trying to get it. But they haven't laid out the plan for everybody to know what to do with.
And if you're the first, I think you also, not saying you can't be the first and you can't leave a whole lot of money behind and all this other stuff, but I think if you're the first, you also have to be, I don't want to say realistic because I'm very optimistic. Yeah. You have to be open to what your role is in that. Because like you said, your role may not be to build the church. Your role may be to leave enough money to build the church. And it's so, as I'm getting older, that's something I think about a lot, because it's kind of weird getting older. And like, not like Tina Turner, 83. I'm like, okay, 83, not like, that's a long life.
Yes.
Also at the same time, when you think about your age now, you're like, well, I only got this much left, but it's still a long time. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's just being open to what your role in that generational wealth may look like, because we all can't be, Bill Gates. We all can't be, so yeah, and it's not easy to think about, because we want to think about leaving the kids and their family behind, but it's definitely something I think about, like, okay, when I leave, what do I want to be in place more internally, like, because sometimes it don't have to be physically, how do I want them to go out in this world if I'm not here? And I have these I ordered them. I think I sent it to you. It's these journals called Letters to My Son, where whenever you,
I need that.
Okay, I'm gonna send that link. It's like, whenever I get like a thought or a life, just go in there and write it. I don't know what age I'm gonna give it to them yet. You choose when you give it to them. Yeah. But just little stuff like that, something that they're gonna have, like, regardless. Like, yeah, they'll have YouTube and I'll be on there, but but they'll have like these life lessons that they'll always be able to carry with them.
I think another thing, right, is because as you're marketing and as you're writing, you're telling the story. Right. And so when we think about our future story, it's a lot of times with this vision work that we do, I'm encouraging my clients to imagine future memory,
Yeah.
right? Like, how do you establish like this thing that feels so real in the present moment because your mind doesn't know the difference, right? It doesn't. Right. If you tell it what you want it to see in the future, that future is going to show up. Right. And so this idea that we're talking about trying to strategize for what other people will remember about us is really about, do you have the courage to make the memory now?
Ooh, that's good. But you know what's funny? After Vision Camp Live, I
Yeah.
am in that same journal. Like I literally wrote down the vision for every, like my vision as a mother, my vision as a friend, my vision as a sister, my vision as a, I don't know if I'm gonna get married again, but if I decide to, my vision as a partner, as a wife, the vision for my finances, like all of that is written down. And it's like every time that I read it, I'm like, yep, yep. And it's crazy because some of these things I'm paying attention to, like how I move in the world now, even with dating. Like I did something yesterday and I'm like, that's new. But I did so I'm like, that's very new for you. But once you see the vision, if you buy into it, you move with a different level of intentionality. And it's like it's not about how I think this should look. This is my vision, and in order for me to make that happen, I gotta do some a little bit. But yeah, that was very different.
Yeah. Look at you. Oh, shoot. You'll tell me later. So the other part about what you just said, right? And I was just talking about this on the socials today, right? And I got it from a client who is extremely successful, but she was talking about being prepared.
Mm,
I said, "You're so prepared that I think you're missing the opportunity to be present." Right?
that's
Because
very possible.
it's just like what you said. If we think we know how it's supposed to work out, we're just going to try to engineer that. And when it doesn't work, we're missing the opportunity for the bigger, better solution.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
So,
that's hard too. That's because I'm a my therapist diagnosed me as a control freak 2 years ago. So one of the biggest things I'm learning this year is you're not really in control of that much. So even like letting that go and just you got to be open to it not looking like what you thought it was supposed to look like, and then not and being okay with that. And that is not the easiest thing to do, especially when you're someone who's used to pretty much everything going your way, whether it's personal or professional.
mhm.
It ain't easy.
No,
It is not
no,
easy.
no. And the only way, I mean, I tell my clients this all the time, the only way you can even attempt to practice that is to trust that there's something better.
Yep. That's literally what I had to tell myself every time I see no, hear no, or it's like, okay, something better. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so see, let me ask you the question of the season. Each season
Uh-oh.
on Wisdom Wednesday, we have a question that we ask our guests.
What we got?
This season is coming from a quote by Don DeLillo. Don DeLillo writes that the family is the cradle of the world's misinformation. So,
Ooh.
our question for our guest this season is,
Ooh-wee.
what misinformation did you get from your family that you had to kind of unlearn or transform on the way to being who you are now?
You know what? Believe it or not, this I often tell people that I'm somewhat blessed to not have the typical family pressures. Because first of all, my family dynamic is not traditional.
Okay.
Most of the people I consider family, I'm not related to by blood,
Mm-hmm.
but they're family, right? So when I think about, and then even when I think about growing up, like my mom and her siblings, like my mama didn't take no shit, right? So for her, it was like, I don't care if you my brother or my sister, if you're not treating me right, I'm going about my business.
Yeah.
So ironically, think I don't think I had to unlearn a lot. Let me see if I can find something.
Okay. Okay.
But I totally agree with that statement because I see it a lot. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
shoot. And unfortunately, people think, oh, because mama, grandma, auntie said it got to be right. And it's like,
No.
nope. It,
Right, because mommy, auntie, grandma never left the front porch, so
exactly.
their understanding is very limited.
Oh, I'm trying to think of what one could be. And my mom was a very against the grain woman the way I am. Like, if the relationship wasn't right, she was gone. If the job wasn't right, she was. But I'm trying to think, what can I? Okay, if I think about my dad's side, I had to unlearn I had to unlearn that family comes first.
Mm.
And the crazy thing is that's another thing I'm learning. I've had to learn this year. I come first.
Yeah.
Like, did it like I come first, even before my children. Like, because if I'm not good, I can't be good for them, and it's a trickle down effect. So that's something that my uncle on my dad's side, he is a, you know, family Black Panther activist, and it's cool. And once I started getting into the groove of being more family oriented and all that stuff, I had to learn this year, like, you know what? Let me pump the brakes and like let me take care of me for a while. Because after I got divorced, it just was like this,
Yeah.
trying to help and take care of, friends and all that stuff. But yeah, this year I'm like, no, for the first time in my life, like I come first.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. So this season of your life, if you could name it, what is it called?
Revival.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, it's so funny you ask. There's like a total underground, like Dropout Media no longer exists. But the Revive group does, like
Okay.
breathing life into something that's new. So yeah,
I
I
love
definitely want to say revival. Like, it's as crazy as this year has been. I'm looking forward to seeing like December 12/31/2023. Me like looking over this year to see how much, because like internally there is a work being done, a work being done.
I love
Like, I ain't never cried so much in my life. That's I
it.
cried.
See, that's okay. You from the D, you ain't soft. It's okay.
Yeah, like but it's crazy because it's exciting. It's very uncomfortable,
Yeah.
very. But at the same time, like, I'm no fool. I know that this is just a setup for something that I probably can't even imagine. So I'm just embracing it. But it's definitely revive, whichever way we want to say it. But yeah.
I love it. I love it. I mean, you're a woman of you're a woman who has been working in the field long enough to know that discomfort is the gateway to transformation, right? And as you are coming up on something new, it ain't easy, but it
Nope.
can happen with ease, right? It will unfold with ease, even though it don't feel easy. And just while I have you here, see, I have to ask you because there are people who are on the fence. We have Vision Camp Virtual coming up on Saturday, May 27th, noon to 3 p.m.
Next live.
Right, okay. See, I know you were there live, but I'm just saying, if people can't get to the live, what would you tell them about registering for Saturday?
This Saturday?
This Saturday, noon to 3.
Listen, clear y'all schedule. So I went to the live one, which wasn't even planned. It was just like, oh, I don't have nothing to do. I'm just gonna go to Charlotte. Mm-hmm. Game changer. It's so hard to put into words, but if you're feeling, if you're feeling stuck in any way, if you don't have any clarity, if there are things you want to do and you have no idea where to even start, you need to register for this event. Like, it's a game changer. Even if you just leave with understanding what you want your life to look like, it's worth it. Like those 3 hours, but y'all do need, the next time she do like the in-person one, I need to be there too. And buy VIP if that's even an option. I think VIP is for the clients currently, but it is a game changer. Like, I don't think people realize like how important coaches are. And I think it's because a lot of high performing individuals, especially in our culture, don't talk about their coaches.
Yeah, right.
And I was telling my sister the other day, because she was saying how she thinks she needs more accountability, but she doesn't like needing that. I said, you do know that like Diddy and them have coaches, and like nobody successful doesn't have a coach or accountability.
Yes.
Like it's not true, y'all. Everybody had, and then their coaches have people.
Exactly.
No one man is an island. It is
no. And
no
success is about surrounding, right?
Yep.
So you are an average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. And if you have a coach, you're just boosting your average. You need a cheat code, right? That's just what's happening. Nobody is an island. And I just want to, thank you, C, for your participation in Vision Camp and your words. But I just want to say that if the woman who writes words for a living ain't got the words, y'all need to get in the room. I'm just saying.
It's that serious, y'all. Like, I be looking at my notes all the time, and I was like, dang, like it is very, very powerful. Like, very powerful. Most people are stuck because they don't have clarity.
Yeah.
Then you wake up one day and you 45 in the same place you was when you was 35
and 25.
That's not cool. Right. I mean, unless that's what you envision your life to be, which I don't think most people do.
No. And especially if they know that there's more that's possible. And that's another thing, right? When you come to Vision Camp, when you come to any of our events, one of our 3 C's is community. So it's about looking and finding someone who's different than you, but can be an example for your next step or stage of your life. So see, if you got last words for the people, what do they need to know from the woman whose words are
register for the weekend? Register for the weekend. No, seriously, like, register for the weekend. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you think it's too late. The least you can do is give yourself those 3 hours to at least check it out, but register for the week. So obviously I work with Christal behind the scenes, but when I went to Vision Camp, the live one, I don't really know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting to walk away with a notebook full of notes, because it's different when you're on the, the creative side, if you will. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, wow. like this is it. Not saying that I didn't know Christal was great at what she does, but you start hearing things and you're like, do I really know what I want my life to look like this year, next year, 5 years from now? So yeah. But no, register for the weekend. Register.
Yeah, the tickets are there. We'll drop the link below this video. Don't miss it. And if you're really like on the fence, like, I don't have a vision, you don't have to have anything. Nope. You just have to say yes to yourself.
And that's so hard for people.
Right, so hard for people to say yes to themselves. And you're talking to 2 women who are entrepreneurs and parents who are single. If we can make time, so can you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you making time to talk to us tonight. See, thank you for coming.
I know. When Taryn invited me, I told her about time.
Oh, we took too long. My bad. We took too long inviting you.
Okay, it's cool. I love talking to you.
We have to spread out our heavy hitters. You know what I'm saying? We got to put them in there. We got seasons of content we got to put through here. But we appreciate you. We're so glad you joined us and took us up on our application, on our invitation. For those of you who are out there, if you're ready to get to Vision Camp, you can jump and hit the link below this, ssvisioncamp.com/virtual. If you're ready to take the next step and become a vision builder, you can also jump over to stepwithcristal.com to schedule your complimentary vision call. It is the first step to becoming the you of your vision and not living a life by default, but committing to design. Ooh. See you soon. Thanks for watching Wisdom Wednesdays.